So tell me what we're looking at here.
So we're looking at a screen that talks about audio. Audio as an essential technology to deliver communication and consumer experiences. So the team at Fraunhofer that I worked for invented the MP3 format back in the late 80s, basically. And that, of course, started the whole experience of delivering good audio over the internet, digital audio, for streaming music, streaming videos, FaceTime video calls, anything that lets you enjoy entertainment or communicate with your loved ones over the internet or over TV broadcast networks. Yeah. So xHE-AAC is basically the latest version of the AAC audio coding standard that initially started being used for TV broadcasting, later enabled music streaming, no matter if it's on Spotify or Apple Music, and then also enabled video streaming. So for instance, this codec is used by Netflix if you're watching a movie on a mobile device, if you're watching an Instagram reel or a Facebook video on your mobile device. This is what this codec is used for.
What are the latest, newest use cases?
Yeah. So here we're not talking about video streaming or audio streaming. Here we're talking about audio messaging, and specifically about RCS audio messaging, which is the standard. If you send a text message over from one phone to the other, RCS basically enriches that experience. And with the xHE audio codec now, you can basically improve voice messaging that you send inside a text message, which so far used very old technology that didn't have a very good, you couldn't really understand the speech very well, and it wasn't very realistic. And now with xHE-AAC, it sounds clear, it sounds like stereo audio, like what you actually want to deliver. So xHE-AAC is actually an ISO MPEG standard. So the same organization that invented MP3 later also started the AAC audio coding standard, which over many years was always continuously improved. And now xHE-AAC is the state-of-the-art codec for streaming and now also for audio voice messaging. And so this was an ongoing process where continuous innovation drives new use cases.
How does a technology like this get from the laboratory to the market?
Well, I mean, it starts obviously with research and engineering teams developing a codec and standardizing it, in this case with an MPEG. But then the important step is how do you ensure that this standard gets adopted by the industry? So that requires, in case of compression like codecs, that somebody needs to write the encoding and decoding software that you actually implement on your devices. And that's what Fraunhofer is doing. So we are actively licensing software implementations of our codecs. And then on top of that, of course, if the device manufacturer adopts the technology, then there's a patent licensing program to ensure that the inventors get compensated.
So does Fraunhofer actually make any hardware itself?
The part of Fraunhofer that I work for, the audio team, we don't really make hardware that we sell. All algorithms are all software based, and so the only reason why we would make hardware is maybe for testing equipment, but we don't sell consumer products. We don't make any hardware that's being sold to the industry. It's all software based, and that way can be implemented very easily, very, very efficiently. So our role in the market is not to make consumer products or sell any hardware. What we basically develop is the algorithm and then write the software that helps you to implement the technology on devices. So we license that software to SoC vendors, for instance, or device makers directly, and then they, and of course the consumer content-facing services, they make the technology available to users.
So in order to license these technologies, there must be patents on some of them as well. How does that work?
There certainly are patents on the AAC standard. Fraunhofer is one of those inventors, one of the larger ones, I would say. At least in most cases, we participate in patent pools, where the inventors come together to offer a licensing program that allows manufacturers to implement the technology. In this case of AAC, the patent pool is run by VIA Licensing Alliance, and they basically have a very successful program that's been running for many, many years that ensures the technology becomes available, becomes affordable, licensable under fair and reasonable terms, and that has been very successful to get the standards adopted in the market. I mean, it's inventors that invent new technologies that enable new experiences. And inventing new things requires research and development.
Mm.
And that, of course, has to be paid.
Mm.
Researchers have to get paid, engineers have to get paid, even the marketing people that sell the technology have to get paid. That means, of course, we have to generate revenue, either through licensing in this case or other public funding. This revenue then gets reinvested in developing new technology or new generations of the AAC codec in this case. So this is really, unless you can pay for those inventions in some way, you will not see new innovation happening. But you could make the analogy that a musician or any type of creative person, of course, should get compensated for what they created. And it's the same with researchers and engineers. They create something new that enables new experiences, in this case, to listen to an audio message or watch a film. Developing these new things is a creative process also on the engineering side. And so those inventors have to get compensated. So in a way, it's similar to the music industry or the film industry. Inventors invent things, and before they can invent more things, they need to get compensated. And that's really what patents enable. And it takes sometimes up to 10 years between having invented a new standard before it gets adopted in the market in a meaningful way that creates enough revenue in order to pay for the next invention. 10 years is already half of what a typical patent lifetime consists of.
How would you finance all this R&D without patent licensing?
So for a technology provider like Fraunhofer, an R&D institution, that would be impossible. We do get some public funding from, in this case, the German government or the European Union, but that only allows us to do basic research. If you want a technology that actually gets adopted in the market and is relevant to consumers, you really need more consistent funding that comes from licensing. That's different from other, let's say, commercial entities that sometimes have services like advertising revenue. They can afford to invest advertising revenue into developing technology. But Fraunhofer is a pure technology company, so that's why we don't have additional revenue streams, and therefore we need our patent income to enable us to do more innovation.